word from our sponsor.
Okay, I'm really tired. I actually worked today. We are the 30th of December 2020. But I wanted to practice shooting a video with a screen record at the same time and see if this works well. So, and I don't need to be awake too much for this. It's about Michael Alig. If you've ever seen Party Monster with the Home Alone guy, I forget his name, I'm not awake right now, which is appropriate. So I want to see if I can find the video again, because he died a few days ago. Oh, here it is, okay. So, I'm going to pull up the video. And I'm going to screen record it at the same time. Alright. And I'm going to give my bits about my situation with someone who's could be in the same direction. So, record.
Welcome to the Pew. As many of you already know, my co-host and longtime friend Michael Alig died of a drug overdose on either Christmas Eve or Christmas morning. It's really hard for me to put this into words, but I have received a lot of requests from people asking me to make some kind of statement about.
Now I know I should put my earphones in because it's going to still be editing, a lot of editing in the afterwards. But at least I won't have to cut out chunks.
Michael, and I thought the best way to do it would be to record another episode of our show just so that I could talk to you about some of the events that occurred in the recent past and some of my feelings about what Michael did and what happened to him.
Oh yeah, the guy's name is Macaulay Culkin, the guy who played Party Monster in the film, who played Michael Alig. Yeah, and there were other documentaries done on him. And I've been watching low-key this channel for a few years. You know, it's kind of like a retro feel to it. It's lo-fi production, you know, which is kind of cool. And I was interested. I was also interested to see what happens to Michael after he got out of prison. Yeah.
I don't really know a lot of the details about the overdose. I only know what I've read in news accounts because I'm in California at my parents' house taking care of them. So, and I was spending the holidays here. And so at the time that this happened, I was already in California. And so I can't really offer any insights on it. People have asked me about memorial services. I don't know about any memorial services. It seems like some people might be planning them, but I don't really know how, at a time when we're all supposed to be socially distant, there could even be a memorial service. And it's very possible that even if there were a memorial service and I were in New York, I might not go to it because of the social distancing, just as I have not gone to other funerals for people who were close to me or my husband. So, how did we get here? It's a hard question to answer, but I'm going to try to. First, I just want to assure everybody that Michael's in peace now. I hope he continues to rest in peace. He didn't have peace when he was alive. He was a tormented person, and in recent years I felt that his anguish and pain was worse than ever. So it was very difficult to witness it. And I know now that all that pain is gone and that he's resting. So in that sense, I'm very relieved about it. I also want to remind everybody and send a message out to people who were friends with Angel Melendez, who I was friends with and who I knew for many years before his tragic death. I'm hoping that Michael's death will help those people who are still in pain from what happened to Angel get some kind of closure. I know Michael was a very polarizing figure. A lot of people had very negative feelings about him. And I don't blame those people for having negative feelings, because Michael behaved horribly and the crime that he committed was very depraved, and there's really no making excuses for it. I forgave Michael for what he did because I felt that everybody needs to have a friend who will forgive you even if you do the most horrible thing imaginable. And it's pretty easy to argue that he did the most horrible thing imaginable. So I'm hoping that people who loved Angel can use this death as an opportunity to have closure and to just put all of this away and not feel the painful loss that they feel. Some of you might be surprised that Michael overdosed. It's not surprising to me that he overdosed on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, because a lot of overdoses and suicides occur on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. You can imagine my horror to find out that he had died at a time when I was with my family having traditional Christmas Eve Mexican food and fruit punch. He was snorting or shooting up heroin. It makes me really sad to think of that. I hope he wasn't alone. I'm not sure who he was with, but it's not a way to celebrate the holidays, and it just shows how alone and isolated and alienated he was. That was his way of observing a holiday that usually I would reserve for friends or for family. I'm also not surprised.
That reminds me of, if you followed my videos for some time, about a year ago, I would refer to the guy, and he was in one or two of the videos. And he's in a similar situation, except he isolates himself. He's got that bigorexia, and now all the gyms are closed, and he just isolates himself. And it's not the first time he isolates himself and stays home and doesn't do anything. Doesn't have a job, doesn't have anything. And he's got like all the steroids around him, and then he doesn't go to a doctor to check up. And I kind of see him, he doesn't have any prospects for the future either. Kind of like Michael Alig. He had his art, but he wasn't working on it. So I kind of see the same horrible type of death happening. You're supposed to plant the seeds for what you want to achieve. It doesn't just happen overnight. I think Michael Alig kind of was used to that also. So when you have to start from scratch, it becomes difficult or daunting. This guy doesn't have a high school education. He does IT, but he can't get a job, and there's always a reason why. And he's got it has to be his way or no way. I've invited him here to use my equipment, but it's not enough weight because he's on this crap ton of gear, and that's the only way he can work out, and but he doesn't monetize anything. So, and I don't have friends. I've been trying to make relations, and I've obviously I'm forging a relationship with someone who's not worthy to be a boyfriend for me. I mean, there's nothing to offer me, and I kind of see myself like, is it Danny? I forget his name. Lad? Ernie? Ernie Glam? It's Ernie, I think. Um, as a helper, you know what I mean? So I have my periods where I don't hang around the guy, and I don't think the guy, at times I don't think the guy appreciates me. Of course, why would, if he doesn't even appreciate himself, why would he appreciate me? You know what I mean? So I kind of like impose myself and kind of to see how he is. But that's, I guess, the helper in me, I guess, or the savior. Um, so that's where my turmoil is. If I had other friends, it'd be a lot easier, and I don't. It's hard for me to get build relationships and build an attraction for at least friendship. You know what I mean? uh, yeah. So that's kind of where I am. So that's kind of why this video kind of touched me. Also, I don't see anything positive happening to this relationship or to him, and I find that sad, and this hasn't helped.
Surprised that he overdosed because I had seen his addiction get worse over the past 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
And I think that many of you who are watching The Pew prior to my departure from The Pew noticed it also. I mean, he visibly declined on The Pew. You could see that he wasn't necessarily as lucid or coherent in some of the final episodes. I would say in the last year that we did The Pew, which was 2018, it was pretty obvious that he was kind of spiraling down into something, right? I mean, I think some of you pointed out that he was nodding off on some of our episodes from 2017, which he probably was. And it was there for everybody to see. And I definitely saw it. And one of the reasons that I stopped doing The Pew with him in 2018, I guess it was the end of 2019 that I stopped doing The Pew. I stopped because it became really difficult to hang out with Michael and to see how sad he had become and how he lived in what I would say in squalor, and it was just not easy to see him like that, and I didn't want to see him like that, so I made the decision to stop doing The Pew with him and to stop hanging out with him. I still communicated with him through email.
Yeah, this is the situation I'm in. Now, someone who bases their whole identity over the gym, I don't even think it has to do with the gym, because it's the steroids, the gym, the bigness, and that's his identity. He had gone to a lot of gyms, like even an hour drive, and pay lots of money that he didn't have. He was getting some unemployment checks, and that's it. And now that all the gyms are closed, now he's really isolated, and he doesn't bring himself out of it, And he had a similar issue, he told me, several years ago when he first started doing steroids, that someone didn't want to help him train or whatever, or deal him steroids, and so he isolated himself. So it's I've only known him for about a year and a half, and it's gotten worse. To distance myself from him is hard. And he wouldn't contact me. His boyfriend just left him via text boyfriend, I mean, he was sleeping all over the place. So it's like his idea of a boyfriend isn't really rational. You know, it was just someone he would stay over on the weekend and would do his laundry and buy him eggs. You know, he doesn't have many goals further than that, except to be a gym rat and to be 255 pounds of muscle. See, on my end, it's part of it's exciting, but then that's all it's there to offer. So that's kind of sad. But yeah, I'm at on my end trying to make relationships. Of course, all I'm attracted to is people who are, you know, destitute like that, and I can't find more of them. I already have my own issues with relationships, so there you go.
And text messages, but even then I maybe only did that once a month or once every 6 weeks because I didn't want to be involved in all of his junky insanity and drama. You know, in recovery program.
Yeah, I want to say that too, because the guy, once you start talking and getting into like conspiracy theories and how everyone is, it's everyone else's fault that this happened, it's really hard to deal with once he starts talking. He doesn't have a rational way of conversing or talking, you know. Yeah.
Programs and counseling programs for people who have loved ones in addiction, you kind of have to detach yourself from the junkie or from the addict because emotionally it'll drag you down with them. And I couldn't really afford to do that. I had my own family, I had my own responsibilities, and I couldn't allow Michael's illness to take me down too. So there had to be a distance, and I didn't really want to have that distance, but it ended up being necessary, and it was basically an act of preservation for myself. And Michael probably didn't like it, and I'm sure it didn't help him, and it probably added to his isolation. But I mean, what could I do, you know? Some of you might wonder why I didn't intervene when I saw that this was happening to him, but there's only so much intervention that you can do. I invited Michael to come live with me after he got out of prison, and I was hoping that by living with me he could see that I had a full-time job, my husband had a full-time job, we were happy and successful, and I was hoping that would...
Oh, yeah. No, that's not an inspiration. He was going to say, hoping it's an inspiration. It's not. The fact that I'm in a positive mood and I'm always pushing forward, it's almost a turn-off to the guy. He envies it, and he's like, he can't be that. He's a negative person, and he sees himself as that, and that's what he keeps telling himself. So it's kind of normal that he would push me away, you know, or expect me to call or whatever. But he's slowly pushing me away more and more. He did that for a bit when he was with his boyfriend. But he had several boyfriends, or he calls them buddies, at the same time. So it's a lot of bullshit.
Would be an inspiration to him to try to be happy and successful, to work a regular job, whatever that job was. But he didn't want to work. He didn't want to have like a normal job.
Right.
And he chose another path, and that path is what led him back to using drugs. And it's hard for me to criticize that path because, obviously people associate me with drugs. I like to party, and I still do. But there is a difference between recreation and abuse. And for me, it's always about the recreation. And then when the 4 or 5 hours of recreation is done, then that's it. And you go back to your normal life. But Michael couldn't go back. He was that type of person that would just keep going and going and going, using and using. And that's addiction. And
Yeah, and the guy is never off steroids. I don't know how he gets it. He has friends who give him. He gets some deals. He's got like a whole bucket of stuff. And he doesn't go see his doctor. The thing when people do steroids, they look for the immediate side effects as opposed to the long-term side effects that grow within you and that tests can't really tell until it's too late and you're gonna die or you're gonna lose your liver or get a heart attack or whatever, or a stroke, because you don't know what your family history is.
And there was really no pulling him back from it. I wasn't in a position to do it. I tried not to enable him. Some people might think that the pew was enabling him because it was giving him a platform, but I felt that having him do the pew gave him some bit of hope, and it gave him something to look forward to and give him something to be proud about, because in the final 2 to 3 years of his life, he didn't really create or put out very much. So I thought it would give him a sense of purpose to do it. So that's one of the reasons why in 2017 we went back to doing the pew. And, for a while I thought he was much better. It helped him. But then, I don't know, maybe after 6 months, or definitely into 2018, he was already, whatever positive effect that the pew had on him had worn off, and he was back into heavy drug use. It's hard, I feel a lot of sadness, obviously, because Michael was my friend before he became famous. I mean, we became friends in the mid-1980s. And so he wasn't the party monster. He wasn't the king of the club kids. And he was really a very smart and funny and creative and entertaining friend. And, I just have so many fond memories of things that we did together. It was only after we became really successful that then all the drugs started, and he wasn't able to pull himself out of that. And at a certain point, I stepped away from it around 94 when I thought it was becoming dangerous, and he just kept going, and that created a separation between us. And obviously it led to the tragedy with Angel, which I wasn't a part of, because by then I had been kind of alienated from him for about 2 years because of the drug use. But I feel very sad. I feel anger and hurt and resentment and frustration because I worked so hard to try to help him, and I wasn't able to help him. He wasn't able to help himself. And I think a lot of people who are the survivors of people that die from drug addiction, or if you have a close family member that suffers with addiction and who died, you'll feel the same feelings. You have all these conflicted feelings about sadness and anger and hurt and betrayal, because you wanted that person to get better and you tried your best to help them, but they couldn't pull themselves out. I know it's a temporary feeling for me. It'll go away because I'm proud of all the help and support that I gave him, and I know that I did the best that I could, and I did all that I could. And I think he recognized that. It just wasn't enough. Some of you are wondering what's going to happen to the Pew. There probably won't be any more co-hosts or normal episodes of the Pew. How could there be? I mean, Michael was the star of the Pew, so there really can't be a Pew without Michael. And in the future, I may post some episodes just of what I'm up to, the different creative things that I'm doing. Drusilla and I had made a video for New Year's Eve that we'll post in a couple of days. It's about nightclubbing in 2019. And, this I made prior to Michael's death because I thought it would be something fun to share with the Pew viewers. But I obviously didn't want to post that until I was able to post this video, which I guess is my final goodbye to Michael Alig. I'm very thankful to him for all the fun. Bye.
Let me shut this off. Yeah. So that's that. The whole point of doing this reaction video was to see the parallels to what I'm living right now. So hopefully somebody can learn, see a situation that they're in and how they're going to deal with it and how other people deal with similar situations in their lives. So that's that. I'm really tired. Head spinning and my ears been ringing for a couple of days. And Monday or Sunday night I had food poisoning and I was throwing up. But I'm okay now. So I'm gonna try and put this together real quick because I'm just gonna use the camera, video, and this video and put it together and maybe see what I could do to edit it. But it'll be an easier edit, I think, than the video I did before this with Vincent Langlois, because I was doing several parts at the same time. The whole point was to try to practice. So, see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. Alright.